Okay, hello everyone. This is our first kind of experiment with talking about issues one-on-one with ZeldaInformer.com and Gamnesia. The idea of this is to kind of flesh out certain topics that we find interesting within the gaming realm and gaming universe. So, to those watching, we really hope you kind of enjoy what we're trying to get at, and we're going to try to delve deep into these topics to explore them from a different angle. So, right now, kind of the big hot button issue or article that was gaining a lot of buzz on ZeldaInformer.com was it was race in games. In regards to, I wrote an article entitled, why can't Link be black? And I guess the article got a lot more buzz than I had anticipated because I think the real premise of the article was why must Link always look the way he does in every game? Um, but regardless, it seemed. I mean, the comment section went crazy. A lot of people were calling me an idiot, which is, again, I did not expect the reaction the article got. And joining me today is one of our other editors with Zelda Informer, Jonathan Vega. And Jonathan Vega wrote a kind of a response to my article. So, hey, Jonathan, can you say hi?
Hi to everyone, Jonathan Vega here.
Jonathan, where are you hailing from?
I'm from Mexico, Mexico City.
Yeah.
So,
Is it? I mean, I'm in Austin, Texas. Is it just as hot in Mexico City as it is in Austin, Texas right now?
yeah, it is really hot in here, but it's also very rainy. Summers in Mexico are very rainy, so it's always wet and hot. It's a weird combination.
Uh, definitely. So one of the things that let's kind of discuss my article and kind of where I was coming from, right? So the first thing I was wanting to get at my article was that I was the idea I started talking about James Bond, and of course some people commented in the comment section that James Bond has been a singular character throughout everything, but then let's just kind of fiat it and let's assume that a character like James Bond or characters similar to him that are kind of timeless, that can always be iterated on over and over again. Um, why must they look the same? And I think that was kind of the argument I was bringing up, in that there's no, I feel that there really shouldn't be a reason to why each of these characters must look the same. And I think the main crux of my argument was that if these characters aren't going on from generation to generation, why should we assume that their ancestors, only only mated with blonde hair, blue-eyed people? I mean, where do you feel that? I mean, do you feel that I was wrong with this premise or this idea that it's unnecessary to always have the character look the same every single game?
Well, yeah, to be honest, I wasn't very fond of your original article because, yeah, I disagreed. I think that Link is as you said, he's a timeless character. So he changes very little from iteration to iteration. He has an image. I mean, there's always certain characteristics that I think have to stay because they're part of the core of the character. So yeah, I agree with the idea that video games in general must incorporate a richer spectrum of colors, if you want to call it like that. I do want games to be more open towards race. But for the Zelda series, even in the Zelda series, I mean, there are lots of different characters in this series.
Hmm.
But I think Link has to meet certain criteria to be considered Link. So I think it's good
Now,
for
I mean,
him to stay on that basis.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I mean, now, do you feel that these criteria are solely visual based? Do you think it I mean, could in some semblance, would you be okay with seeing a Link with more tan skin, maybe with a different colored hair, but still having the same like tenets of courage and being able to like fight the bad guys for the princess? I mean, if Link was just cosmetically changed, would that be so offensive to you that you wouldn't go out and purchase the game?
No, 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 that would be an exaggeration. After all, this a video game. What matters is gameplay.
Right.
So no, I wouldn't be so offended.
Now, so a lot of people in the article pointed out that, this is just a video game. I mean, why discuss it in a more broader aspect? I mean, why discuss it from uh, areas of like the human situation of race and culture and gender and identity? Now, do you feel that we shouldn't discuss games from those angles, or are games, I mean, are games beyond that, unlike books and movies?
No, no, it's fine to discuss these themes because video games have become one more medium. I mean, now they're as deep and as heavy, if you want, as movies. Nowadays, video games all have, deep stories, and as I told you before, they have lots of characters to interact with, or characters that even yourself control. So yeah, yeah, I think it reflects our real life. So discussing this kind of themes is the right thing. It's the right thing to do. I don't like this thing that you. I like the idea
Hmm.
of your article because yeah, this is one topic that must be discussed. Even if your main point or one of your points I disagreed with, I
Hmm.
still think this is a very important theme. I still think it. So it was a nice start. We or you rather you caused controversy, which is and that's good. That's good because you've got to I don't know if you have this saying, but in Mexico we say to twist the waters to
Interesting.
so you twisted the waters with your article, and that brought everybody's attention to the theme, into this theme. So yeah, it was a nice start, and I'm kind of proud that it happened on Zelda Informer.
You know, the reason I kind of threw up this article again because not to stir controversy because again I did not expect the response that this article received, um, but the idea was that I view games from a scholarly level,
Hmm.
and again I think that's perfectly okay because to an extent, for example, if we can break down a book and look at it from all these different angles, if we can break down a movie, even a movie that probably wasn't even a movie like Transformers, which isn't a great scholarly piece, but you can still break it down based on like these robots that are acting very kind of urban.
Hmm.
Break down like some of these racial like areas that these are coming from. Why can't yeah, well, my premise was, my idea was that why is it not allowed, at least for some people in the comments, to view games as art, because art has to be criticized from a scholarly perspective. And, in my opinion, that includes the human situation, which then includes
Of course.
race, gender, and everything. Um, and now a lot of people are just saying, it's a game. But, these same guys get really angry when Roger Ebert says games aren't art. At the
Oh
point,
yeah,
if you want to consider games art, in my opinion, you have to be able to criticize it from the angles of the human situation. Um,
exactly.
so, I mean, I mean, in your opinion, should we apply this to? Well, I mean, I personally believe that we should apply it to all games, how silly they may be. I mean, do you feel that they should only be reserved for games like The Last of Us or Uncharted or, more the more mature, themed games?
No, I think it should be applied to all games. because, as you said, their art now, even if Ray Rabbit didn't admit it during his lifetime, yeah, they're works of art. I mean, they've
Hmm.
got music, they've got stories, and some of them, or lots of them, have even great visuals, which is part of the experience. I mean, when you go watch a movie, you expect uh, great effects or smooth animation.
Right.
That is part because it becomes the aesthetics of the art of the work. So so yes, there are works of art with music, with visuals, with stories, and even interactive arts are not new. I mean, in theater, they do this kind of performances all the time, which led the audience to participate. So being interactive doesn't
Hmm.
prevent video games from being art. So yes, I think they are art, and as works of art, they should be analyzed and criticized from every point of view, which includes the human aspect, as you just said. So yes, I agree.
Now,
But no, okay, fine.
oh no,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Yeah, I wanted to move on to a different topic, right? So in your kind of response to my article, and I think that that was really interesting. That again, most websites don't have this, and I'm glad Zelda Informer does, where one editor can release one article with one opinion, and another editor can release another article with a differing opinion, have them be on the same site. I think that's very good for discussion and for dialogue and trying to flesh out some of these ideas, because again, the games industry is really young. And one of the points that you brought up was that the Legend of Zelda series is I don't claim it's racist. I just claim it's questionable. Like some of the choices are a little questionable.
Okay.
You claim that it's not racist because of how multicultural it is and how well it's been influenced by various worldwide cultures. Can you elaborate on some of that for those who haven't read your article?
Okay, for those who haven't read the article, yeah, I think the series is not like I don't know Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed or your everyday FPS. This is not a game that represents real life. I mean, in Zelda, there's no United States, there's no
Hmm.
Europe, there's no Africa. So, real world rules do not apply to the Zelda universe.
Right.
It is a universe of its own. So some certain things that for us might be an issue or delicate
Hmm.
topics for the Zelda series or for the Zelda culture are not. So Zelda series, I think, it's a fantasy world,
Hmm.
and most of the people who appear there are not even humans. I mean, if you play, for example, Ocarina of Time, which is the most famous of the series, you find there's a small town of humans in Hyrule Castle, sorry. But there's the Goron City and
Hmm.
there's Sora's Domain and there are more non-humans than humans. So apply human stereotypes to the characters does not work, and that's why I did that article because I thought the Legend of Zelda transcends this theme. It goes beyond that.
Now this is where I kind of disagree with you, and I don't know if you've read the book Animal Farm by George Orwell.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite books.
Now, wouldn't you say that in that book? I mean, no, it's a great book. But wouldn't you say in
Yeah.
that book they're animals, right? Yet, and it's
Yes.
this fictional world, yet it's there to make a very political point. And you said that in the Zelda series that since this is a very fantastical world, that it's kind of not or it's impossible to kind of criticize some of our real world aspects on this fantastical world. I mean, then would you say that the arguments posed in Animal Farm are now not as credible because it deals with pigs and chickens and things like that.
Oh no, but you have to deal with context and with intention
Hmm.
because Animal Farm. was written as an allegory. It made a political statement. I mean, George Orwell, he loathed and despised communism. So both Animal Farm and 1984 had this political agenda or message. So this and The Legend of Zelda doesn't have that. It's not an allegory of a world. It is not. It does
Hmm.
not carry a political message. So I think to compare Animal Farm to The Legend of Zelda is does not work because we're comparing oranges and apples.
This is where I kind of, where I kind of disagree, because I feel that a fantastical world is nothing more than an interpretation of our current world, right? In that an area, if you see there are a lot of parallels, with our
Yeah,
world and the fantastical world of The Legend of Zelda, and a lot of fantastical worlds in general, right, that are based off of some form of reality that
yeah,
the writer and themselves feel that they're in. So I mean, for example, one area of the Legend of Zelda series that I've never truly been a fan of was the Gerudo people, which are um, these female arabesque women, and whenever they give birth to a man or something to that extent, that
yeah,
man ends up becoming very evil. The only problem is that I find with that is that and again, I never felt that any of this stuff was intentional. I want to make that
mhm,
explicitly clear. When the guys over at Nintendo were making this game, they were just making it based on some of the books they used to read in the past or some of the movies they used to watch in the past, and they made this game, uh, just kind of similar to that. But in my opinion, the problem with kind of following that is that it's inherently dehumanizing because they're based off of these stereotypes that were found in these films and movies, and they just kind of cross applied it to their game. And they didn't think much of it because they had seen it in these movies and books prior. But
mhm,
that's kind of the problem. Um, I mean, for example, in the Grand Theft Auto series, there are a lot of in San Andreas. There are a lot of movies and books that kind of portray these gangster blacks, African Americans,
yeah,
as this certain way. Um, so they're like, hey, let's just do the same thing. But in reality, what they're doing is that they're perpetuating something. They're perpetuating that, yes, it's okay to, you know, and again, they're not inherent. They're not, uh, perpetuating this on purpose. It's kind of inadvertent, but in a societal context, they ultimately are because now you have kids playing as or everyone playing as stereotypical black gangsters that just um, cause a ruckus or whatever. I mean, to an extent, do you feel that that is problematic? Taking these certain stereotypes from past films and just cross applying it to a game, not thinking much of it.
yeah. I think just I don't want to sound insistent, but I will insist context
Hmm.
because these games are made by Japanese people, not American people,
Right.
and they have a very different culture. And by culture, I mean the way they view others. I mean, maybe for Americans, to portray a black person with the big lips and everything is called racist or offensive, but to the Japanese person, it isn't. So when Nintendo do these games, they don't think about, oh, what are gonna they say in America, what are gonna say in Europe. They usually do it based on their own Japanese context and culture. So Americans and Japanese have very different views. And for example, you mentioned the Garudo people, and that's also a very delicate topic because I know that in the States you've got lots of problems with Muslims. I mean, There's Al Qaeda, and there's the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. So for you, Muslims and Arab people are a very delicate topic. But
I
for the
mean,
Japanese, they aren't.
yeah.
So a
Uh,
Japanese can wait a minute. A Japanese can copy paste the Arabian Nights, and
mhm,
it's no harm for them, you know. And that's why I think the Gerudo tribe is actually one of the most interesting to me.
mhm,
Uh,
mhm. Now, I
um,
mean, I don't know if you know this about me, but what do you call it? Yeah, I was also born and raised Muslim. Do you think that has that? Do you think my background, or what extent does my background have to the article that I wrote?
yeah, yeah, that's quite a twist. That's quite a twist because the article sounds like it was written by a black or a white guy. I mean, you know, not by someone who was raised a Muslim. But I still think that the portrayal of the Gerudo people is I like it. I like it even if they're evil or if they are all female with a male king. I still think they have a very rich mythology.
Hmm, hmm.
I mean, that's how I see it. And I have never thought that it was, racist or sexist or whatever. I just said, well, there's a bunch of women who are thieves, and even then, they're quite capable. I mean, they capture Link and a gang of carpenters and send them to jail. They don't need Ganondorf. They're strong as they are, and
Right.
that is really portrayed in the game. So I think that part of the game is not racist or sexist, but otherwise, Ganondorf, the male one, is the black sheep of the tribe because as even if they are thieves, the Gerudo are not evil. They're just thieves. It's their way of living. But they do no harm. They don't kill. They don't wherever. They just do their thing. And then comes Ganondorf, who says, "No, I wanna conquer and take over all Hyrule and blah blah blah." And in the end, the second in hand of the Gerudo, who is Naboru, she doesn't acknowledge Ganondorf as her king. So I think it how do I say it? It twists the table. It opens the table because in real life, the Muslim community are seen as, a very male, uh, women go with their faces covered, and women are stoned if they're not virgins, and
I mean, yeah, yeah.
but it's
There.
the opposite. It's the women who are the strong ones, and the male one who is the black sheep.
Well,
So
here's a bit of advice. Don't ever tell a Muslim woman that she is oppressed. She will get very angry at you. But what I also wanted to raise a point at was your back topic to Japan and how Japan views race. Now, in college, my minor was East Asian studies, so I studied Japan and East Asian politics extensively. My major is government, and the reason I do talk about race a lot is because I actually write civil liberties, or I work with civil liberties organizations a lot, and a lot of rights advocacy groups. Um, so the what's interesting, I just want to bring up this point. There's no real question attached to it. Is that in Japan, since they haven't had kind of the rich racial clash that America has had over the years, has kind of insulated them from some of these racial discussions that the rest of the world has kind of already had. That's kind of going on in France right now. That you pointed out in your article. Um, that's kind of going on to other European countries. There hasn't been a ton of immigration into Japan until very recently, and because of that, the Japanese are actually kind of unknowingly they make some unknowingly racist comments without even realizing it towards Chinese or Koreans or Taiwanese. Maybe less towards the Taiwanese. Um, but uh, but again, again, I never say that like Miyamoto and the guys over at Nintendo had racist intentions when going into this game. They just kind of took these stereotypes of what they've seen in movies and just kind of cross-played it to their game. Um, and I just kind of wanted to make that point in my article. I do say at the end that it wasn't intentional. It was just kind of they kind of just didn't remember the series was made in what the late 80s, and this is kind of all pre 9/11 kind of stuff. So it's again it's not like they had some anti-Muslim agenda, because again the game is too old to have some kind of anti-Muslim agenda or anti any agenda.
Yeah.
It was just kind of made uh, and it was just kind of made on these stereotypes, and they just went with it. And now I understand. I still love the series. I watched the Symphony of the Goddesses. I know you're gonna go watch the Symphony of the Goddesses when they roll around to Mexico. I still love the series. I mean, I'm gonna continue playing the series. I'm gonna continue playing every game in the series. Um, I just thought it would be interesting if we, as a community of gamers, decided to take a step back and just kind of look at this game that we love from a kind of a different angle. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that was the ultimate intention with my article. So I think with that we're about nearing up 30 minutes. Do you want to make any last points before we kind of close it out?
Okay. Yes. 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 I agree. The series, I think it should be more inclusive because yes, there are lots of countries, cultures, races, and civilizations which are still ignored by the series. As I pointed out in my article, there are no Mexican references, for example.
Sure.
Or so yes, I want the games to incorporate more elements from
Actually,
other parts of the world.
let me ask you this question. If in the next Zelda game they do incorporate more Mexican elements, would you be personally offended if it was just a bunch of, if it was very stereotypical, everyone's eating like tacos and wearing sombreros or something like, I mean, would you be offended with that? That they, view the Mexican culture so kind of lightly or face value?
Well, to be honest, at first it would hit me hard. But I guess then I just laugh and say, hey, at least they look toward me. But I know that's the stereotype, and they can go really deep because otherwise other people wouldn't get the reference. For example, looking at you, I wouldn't tell you were raised a Muslim. But if I saw people with the traditional or the stereotype attire, then yes, I'd say okay, that's a Muslim. So I will understand why they went for the stereotype,
Mm.
and so I wouldn't be offended in the end. Uh, but the opposite, I would say, well, yay, we were taken in consideration.
Oh,
So
well,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, close out your finishing point, and then we'll close out the video. Oh yeah, you had a final point that you were making?
Final point. Yeah, I think the Legend of Zelda series should be more inclusive, but it doesn't have to be in Link. I mean, they could apply them to other races, and I think that would enrich the the experience. I mean, there's lots and lots of ways to incorporate foreign elements, not only in Link. I want the series to incorporate elements from all over the world, but not necessarily on Link. There are lots of ways to do it.
Okay, so with that, we are closing this little Google Hangout we had about race in Zelda. Um, I guess we'll keep the comment section down below open. Definitely follow my work and Jonathan's work on ZeldaInformer.com. We'll also plug in our Twitter handle so you can follow us on Twitter. It'll be right down there in the description below. And with that, thank you for joining us. And
Thank you, everybody.
yeah. And maybe we can do this again. Let us know if you want to hear this again. We'll try it again. We'll try it out with other editors. And with that, goodbye.
Bye bye.